question is why I take melatonin, right? And there are many reasons for taking melatonin. And before that, this space I'm the part-time medical advisor for Anglo-French. So this space is basically given by them, but there is no catch. This is not a sponsored event. This is my own talks, and I always give talks on this challenge. So they're very, very open to what we do, and we should be talking, right? So why am I taking melatonin? First of all, the interest for aging, and we are all in the same boat, so I'm not in another one. The interest for aging has really tremendously increased over the past couple of years, and the number of papers also have increased, as well as searches for aging. And so naturally, that perked my ears and my need for looking into aging. Now, the other thing that we also need to look at is, sorry. Right. One of the other things that we are always having a problem is sleep. I won't talk about sleep here because that's not the reason why I'm taking melatonin. But just to remind, or just to make sure that we all understand, if you look at life expectancy of 76-year-old person and a compare these two scenarios, if you sleep for 8 hours a day, compared to 6 hours a day, if you stay awake for 50 years, which means that if you sleep for 8 hours, you have good sympathetic, no challenge with sympathetic nervous system. So you have good natural immunity, good coagulability, vasoconstriction, and good ghrelin and increased food intake. So basically, it's quite a good physiological balance. Okay, and parasympathetic system is basically more prevalent than the sympathetic system. But if you shave off even 2 hours of your life, thinking that sleep is just a passive process and it's not very important, I will talk about it again some other time. You're getting more morning or wake hours, yes, 55 years. You're getting more, again, 15 years extra in terms of cutting down on sleep, but you're going to get a lot of challenges like inflammation, atherosclerosis, increased blood pressure, and obesity and diabetes. So this is just to start the importance and reiterate the importance of sleep. Okay, so why should I take melatonin? I don't have a sleep issue. This is what I keep telling myself, and this is really the issue, and I think I've spoken about it some time back about sleep deprivation. I don't have a sleep issue because I go into sleep hygiene and I get my sleep without a challenge. And we know that melatonin is secreted somewhere here around 9 o'clock, usually after sunset, and it goes on through the night and reduces in what do you say, secretion, and the amount reduces around morning, where you have a increase in the hormones like cortisol, which is the hormone of daylight, where your bowel movements, your high blood pressure, everything increases and you wake up. So melatonin is generally known to be secreted at night, and most people are familiar that melatonin is a hormone of darkness as well as hormone for sleep. Okay, that is true in many cases. Okay, and we know that melatonin is stimulated by stimuli. It is three important stimuli from light, food, and exercise. Okay, these are the three very important stimuli that work on different kinds of cells, including cells that secrete melatonin. And it's important in all these other metabolism and immunity as well as reproduction, for which I'm not interested, but I think Bharati would definitely agree with that. But I won't talk about it now, but some other time probably with Bharati's permission. And of course all the other gynacs as well. So melatonin is an indolormin. Okay, it is secreted by the pineal gland in the brain. Okay, and it works in the brain, working on the suprachiasmatic SCN or suprachiasmatic nuclei. But we know that melatonin is also secreted in extrapineal glands such as gastrointestinal tract, ovaries, lymphocyte, macrophages, retina, and even the skin. Okay, and we know that these extrapineal melatonin works both as a paracrine and an autocrine. Paracrine means affecting cells and the systems just around where it is secreted, and autocrine is where the cellular auto regulation is also regulated by melatonin. So basically it has got both an entire body kind of a mechanism, brain part of it, and as well as very local mechanisms where it mainly works as an antioxidant. Okay, so melatonin is secreted, is one of the biggest glands in the body to make melatonin is the pineal gland in the brain. It is made from the amino acid tryptophan, which becomes melatonin, and on the way becomes serotonin, which is also an important regulator or in neurochemistry. And melatonin is then made in the mitochondria from tryptophan to the final molecule. Okay, and melatonin works on many receptors. The most important receptors when it comes to sleep and other things are melatonin receptor 1 and receptor 2. There is also another receptor called MT3, which is important. There are a few other subsets of receptors as well. So basically this is what melatonin works on these receptors. Okay. Now, melatonin is not seen only in humans, it's seen in all animals as well as plants. And tryptophan is the basic amino acid that melatonin needs to make melatonin. Body needs, or the plant needs to make melatonin. Okay, so again, I do not have an issue with sleep, so why should I take melatonin? One of the reasons is, if you look at this paper which looks at melatonin and aging, prospects of human treatment, this was published in 2011, quite an old paper. But what we know and what struck me is that melatonin levels drop as we age. Okay, so we are somewhere in between here. So our melatonin has dropped since we were young. Okay, and melatonin, as we age, the nighttime melatonin drops quite a bit, as much as the other melatonin during the day, but not as much. So melatonin drops basically. Hi, I think it is someone. Kalpana, I think it's your voice.
No, please mute your.
Hello.
Yeah, just
can you
mute.
Hear me?
Yeah, can you mute please?
Mute. Everybody mute and listen to Jeetan.
Kalpana, mute. Thank you. Thank you. So that was the thing, right? So we are reducing the amount of melatonin as we age. And another thing that also is very interesting is that if you feed melatonin in proportionate quantities to mouse or mice, it extends their life here. This is 3 months in a mouse, but you might think, okay, what is 3 months for us humans? If you look at how long a life, so I looked into how you can compare mice and human life. Dogs, we say 1:7. 1 year in dog is 1 year in dog is 1 year in human is 7 years for a dog. So if you look at a mouse, 24, it's almost 1:30. Okay, so 2 months is almost into 30 times. So if you look at a mouse, is 2 years is almost equal to about 70 years in humans. So this makes a difference. I said, okay, why not? I mean, not that I want to live very long, but if I can, why not? So melatonin will help me. So one reason there, right? And then we also have cardiovascular benefits. Okay, so this paper, cardiovascular benefits of dietary melatonin, a myth or reality. Basically, we're looking at the circadian rhythm, which I spoke about sometime. It is a 24-hour rhythm, which includes the night, and this is a very important biological rhythm. Lal was talking some time back about giving melatonin for patients with jet lag, especially because he lives in Dubai. I think many of his patients travel a lot. Yes, it is used there, but there are challenges. But this talk is not about that. This is why I take melatonin, and it's all about aging, right? So melatonin also works on the immune system and the cardiovascular system. Okay, and most importantly, it works on the pathologies in the cardiovascular, neurodegenerative, reproductive, bone disease, especially in osteopenia and osteoporosis. And women should look at this. Even men suffer a lot from osteopenia and osteoporosis, but naturally unfortunately not as much as women. Various cancers again. and skin diseases, as well as one of the biggest challenges, that is metabolic disorders as we age. So if you look at melatonin, and if you look at as helps with increased blood pressure, it works as an antioxidant, improves endothelial dysfunction or function, which is very important, because this is one of the challenges that narrows the blood vessels and increases blood pressure. It reduces platelet reactivity, so blockage is challenged, enzymatic modulation, and also anti-inflammatory effects. So basically all these work and help with hypertension. Why not, right? So if you look at human studies, there are few studies on cardioprotection that melatonin can help. So it's not just in textbooks. So melatonin works as an antioxidant. We're talking about cardio system, antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, immunomodulatory. So it works as an antihypertensive, works on the adrenal system, and anti-lipidemic, reduces fat levels. So it increases autophagy. Autophagy is when the cells eat their own organelles, which is very important, because the older organelles are recycled or killed, and new cells, organelles are replaced. Mitophagy is when the mitochondria, the same thing happens with mitochondria. Very important, very, very important, especially in skeletal muscle. So it reduces apoptosis. Apoptosis is natural cell death, necrosis, and these work on ischemic heart diseases. Then it reduces cardiac hypertrophy, fibrosis, improves hypertension, and that works on cardiomyopathy. So ultimately works on the heart and as well as heart failure. Now, if you look at brain inflammation, I will give you a talk on, please allow me to give you a talk on inflammation. This is huge. Inflammation is what we should be worried about. And brain inflammation is a newer topic, and inflammation on its own is a new topic. Is inflammation and aging. The current undercurrent of aging is inflammation. The undercurrent of all chronic diseases, including type 2 diabetes, is inflammation. And we have not been taught the science. So it's kind of, swept under the rug, and we never think about it. So it's important that melatonin works as a neuroprotective with anti-inflammatory properties. There's something called a SIRT1. Okay, and it works on SIRT1. SIRT1 is very important, that it basically improves the neuroprotective and anti-inflammatory property of melatonin. And SIRT1 is located in the cell nucleus. Okay, it's a deacetylase. Now SIRT1, if you remember resveratrol is from grape seeds, right? It's very important. I think many people know about grape seeds and resveratrol as an antioxidant. They also work on SIRT1. So melatonin works on SIRT1. So if you look at aging, what melatonin does is works on the pineal gland, and melatonin basically works on SIRT1 expression and elevates, it reduces the elevation of Hi, Kalpana. So it works on the elevated, that is ROS, that is the reactive oxygen species and reactive nitrogen species, works on mitochondrial dysfunction. Mitochondrial dysfunction is the mechanism for aging. Poor mitochondrial dysfunction is the problem for aging. And this way it helps with the aging. If you look at the papers that are published on neurological challenges, it works on Parkinsonism, Alzheimer's, brain edema, alcoholism, depression, cerebral ischemia, hyperhomocystinuria, gliomas, as well as phenylketonuria. Now, I'd be most interested, of course, in Parkinson's disease and Alzheimer's. We also call Alzheimer's as type 3 diabetes mellitus, because you see insulin resistance in the brain. Definitely, when I have my drinks, I should not forget where I keep my drinks, and I should not spill my drinks. So very, very important for me. I don't have alcoholism. I can vouch for that. So aging works on cardiovascular diseases and neurodegenerative diseases. Also works on ALS, by the way. Now, this to me is another very, very important slide, because one of the challenges, and I always talk about skeletal muscle, because skeletal muscle is the biggest problem when it comes to aging, because the minute we are immobile, we age like crazy. Okay, so basically it works on melatonin works on The IGF-1, which is insulin like growth factor 1, which is a very important what you call as anabolic hormone like insulin, works on mitochondrial biogenesis, works on PGC1 alpha. PGC1 alpha is very important when you stimulate cells by exercise. Also, when you put people into very cold temperatures, you must have heard about jumping into cold water to improve aging. Very true, and it helps a lot. PGC1 alpha is also works on heat therapy. So sauna and putting people in very cold temperatures helps in skeletal muscle build and maintenance. So melatonin works there, and exercise. So this is another paper that is very interesting, especially interesting for me because I want my muscle to be good, but also for the females in our vicinity, and so our friends over here as well. This is a paper which used melatonin for treating postmenopausal women who had a growth reduction in muscle mass. Muscle mass is it's not just bone. We have to treat bone as a skeletal-muscular system. So you have to treat muscle. You can't just treat bone. It is ridiculous to treat bone and not treat muscle at the same time. And so this is a study done for 1 year with 1 or 3 milligrams of nightly melatonin, and it improves the benefit. It improves body composition and improves lipid metabolism over a period of 1 year. So if you look at this graph, the fat mass reduces, the fat percentage reduces, and lean mass, that is your muscle, improves. Which is these are the melatonin, the light gray are the melatonin treated, and then you have the placebo. So why not? I'm very interested because I need my muscle. I need my skeletal muscle to keep me young. I need my skeletal muscle to be mobile. I need all my patients to have that too, and as well all my friends, of course. Why not aging and skin? Why would I want to have bad skin? So we know that melatonin the receptors for melatonin are present in many tissue as well. I'm talking about skin tissue as well. So if you look at melatonin, whether you have endogenous, that is a tablet of melatonin, or you apply melatonin cream on your skin, it will be converted into the active form of melatonin, which is AFMK. AFMK is N1-acetyl-2 formalin 5-methyl kynuramine, and that basically works on the oxidative damage that can happen to the skin. So if I can skin benefit, I will go for it. Now, I mentioned some time back about Alzheimer's disease, and Alzheimer's disease is pretty much type 3 diabetes. So if we have a metabolic challenge, we are pretty much in the realm or age where things can shift, and we suddenly discover that we are hyperglycemic, and that is because of long years of insulin resistance. I will give a talk on insulin resistance. I gave a talk some time back to some doctors, and I'm going to improve and speak about the same next week or week after for us, and be very interesting. So basically what it does is we have a challenge with insulin resistance both for type 2 diabetes and Alzheimer's. Okay, so in type 2 diabetes, let's look at just type 2 diabetes here. So oxidative stress, and you have mitochondrial dysfunction, and of course cellular aging, and melatonin prevents that. So melatonin works on preventing insulin resistance in Alzheimer's disease in the brain, as well as other challenges with the brain, as well as helps us with the peripheral insulin resistance that helps the body manage glucose as one of its manifestations of insulin resistance. So why not? Important. In addition to promoting sleep, we also know that it can work on viral and parasitic infections. In fact, COVID, melatonin, I've given my patients melatonin during COVID. It worked quite well, and my patients are pretty happy. So why not? Here is again another diagram which we're talking about melatonin. I'm just reiterating the same thing. Anti-inflammatory action, improves energy supply. It works on the peripheral circadian oscillators. It works on improving high proliferative capacity of cells like leukocytes, stem cells, and progenitor cells. We need stem cells and progenitor cells for renewing the final number of cells that we have, which keeps we need new cells to replenish the older ones. So if you look at melatonin, it has a huge number of of benefits with the physiological and metabolic features. It modulates different enzymes. We just spoke about some, including superdioxide dimutase, which is very important in the glutathione peroxidase system. Glutathione is one of the most powerful and very important antioxidant in cells. It works on the reactive oxygen species as well as reactive nitrogen species. It also works on different, yeah. So this slide, the reason why I brought this slide is, okay, now we need to discuss a little bit about how much melatonin we need, right? And how much am I taking, right? So if you look at melatonin, this is the amount of melatonin that you see at night, 50 to 100 picograms per milliliter. Okay, not very much, but maybe lower. It's lower throughout the body. And different parts of the body have different levels of melatonin. So the peak melatonin in 24 hours naturally happens at night. We know that. That is basically got a different mechanism and different property and different reason. And most of the melatonin that is secreted either in cells like in the gut or in the brain is excreted in the urine. Okay. So if you look at the anti-aging therapies, they can range from 3 to 12 milligrams of melatonin, which is basically given for sleep behavior, but also works on neurodegeneration and the associated diseases. Okay, so that's one thing. Now this is a paper, I couldn't get the full paper, and the full paper costs about 50 US, and I didn't want to buy it. I'll probably get it sometime. And this is a paper of looking at optimal doses in older adults, and they're looking at some range of 0.1 to 50 milligrams per kg. But they do recommend that lowest possible beneficial benefit can be achieved with good amount of melatonin. So there is a range. Okay, and if you look at this I spoke about this some time back. They've given 1 or 3 milligrams nightly for a year, which improved the body composition in women. If you look at this paper again, melatonin in aging women, we are looking at melatonin and cancer, where they're looking at giving melatonin at different different doses of melatonin. They've also given melatonin for HRT as an HRT with HRT or hormone replacement therapy at melatonin 1 milligram per day. We've also looked at melatonin given for 1 year at 1 milligram and 3 milligram, which improved bone mineral density in women by almost 2.2%. In tibia and 3.6% in bone volume density, volumetric bone volume density. So why not? And it reduces the excretion of calcium in urine as well. So there is a range of melatonin that is available or you can take. Now what do I take? I take 0.5 maximum 1 milligram of melatonin at night, not for sleep, again I say that, but it will naturally improve my quality of sleep, not to induce sleep. Let me rephrase that. And secondly, to work as an anti-aging agent. So what do? I use a spray. Okay, the spray is, I'll show you the name of the spray. The same company that I'm working with makes a spray called Fast Nap, and I distributed this to all of you all who had come to Bangalore for the dinner. And this one, one pump. That is, after you shake the can, you take one. So this is a can. So this is the can. Shake it well, and I take one pump under my tongue at night before I sleep, or sometimes 2 pumps. Most of the times 1 pump. That will give me 0.5 milligrams, or 2 pumps will give you 1 milligram, and I just let it stay under my tongue for a while, and we know that oral absorption sublingual is very good. So it gets absorbed, and then I just swallow it, drink some water, and I'm fine. So this is why I take melatonin, and that is the end of my talk.